Hello, boys and girls. How are y'all doing today? This is going to be day 2 for our reading. This is going to be our vocab for this week. We're going to review our vocabulary, and then we're going to read a story together that will make sure you understand what our vocab words mean, and we'll actually use them in the context that they want you to understand them, okay? So our first word we're going to look at today is pollution, okay? And pollution can be identified as harmful materials that can make something dirty. So when I drive by like a big factory or a big steel plant or something, a lot of times you'll see those big smokestacks that go up into the sky. And what they're doing is that smoke is really polluting the air and polluting the atmosphere, okay? And that is identified as pollution, that harmful material that's going into the air. That is pollution, okay? So there's our first vocab word. Our next word is sources. Can you say that word? Sources. Sources are where things come from. So thinking on that same topic, if we were talking about the pollution, where is it coming from? What is the source of the pollution? It would be the steel plant or the factories, okay? So sources are where those things come from. Okay? Our next word is, if I can get it, traditional. Traditional. Most common or expected, okay? So it is traditional for us to have our morning announcements after breakfast in the classroom, okay? It may be traditional at your home to do a Christmas tree, okay, at Christmas time. It may be traditional where on Sunday you cook a really big lunch with your family, okay? So I want you to think of some things that you do at your home that are traditional, okay? It's something you just expect to happen maybe on a certain day of the week, or maybe you just have a tradition that you guys started together. Can you think of some of those? Okay. The next word is energy. Okay, energy is the ability to do work, and we studied this when we were in science. We looked at what energy is. So we're already a little bit familiar with this word, okay? But it is the ability to do work. Okay, produce. To make or create something, okay? Now, this can be like in the factories that we were talking about that has the pollution that goes into the air. They are producing a harmful substance into the air, okay? They are making or creating something that goes into the air that we don't need and that isn't natural, okay? So it causes us problems. So they're polluting the air. But they are producing that, or making or creating. For a synonym, you can think of make for produce or create, okay? The next word we're going to look at is natural. Natural is something that can be found in nature, okay? And that's why those plants and factories that have those that pollution going into the air, that's why they're so harmful, because it's not intended to go into the air. It is not natural. Okay, it's not something that's already been there. Nature has a way of doing things, and when we add things, sometimes it can cause harm to others or to animals. Just like the pollution in the air, we studied on how it bothers the birds, it bothers us, it bothers other animals. So if it is something that we can already find in nature, then it would be considered natural. You can even see the root word in natural would be nature, okay? Okay, renewable. Okay, renewable means that it can be made again. Now remember when we talked about when we had suffixes that prefixes and suffixes and root words that we studied, we talked about how re was one of those prefixes that means to do something. Do you remember? Like if I say, I need you to retest because I think you were distracted during your test, I want you to test again. I want you to do it again. So I find that right here in my definition, to do something again. And then if I see new inside there for my root, I see the word new. So if I make something new again, it's kind of just like my vocab definition. can be made again, can make it new again. Okay, now did you see how I kind of used my prefix and my root word to break this word down to really be able to tell what the definition is without having to look at my definition? That's what good readers do, okay? Anytime you encounter a word or you come across a word where we're not sure what that word really means, see if you can use those prefixes, suffixes, and root words to break down the word and decode what it really means. Really dive in and try to dissect it and figure out what the word really means, okay? Then our last vocab word for this week is replace. Now, most of you know what replace means. To replace means you're just going to take the place of it, okay? And we're going to use all of these words in our story that we're going to read together, okay? So I'm going to read it. I want you to follow along, and then you're going to have something to fill out at the end of it, okay, for an assignment. All right? So follow along with me. Okay, and I'm going to try to keep this to where you can kind of see what we're reading together and you can kind of follow along with me. So we've got this really cool little snowboarder guy over here. Looks really fun. Okay, and our title is Here Comes Solar Power. All right, you ready to read along with me? It says, what do you have in common with a car and a factory? You both need energy to run. Energy keeps things moving. Now remember, what did energy mean? Energy was the ability to do our work, okay? So all of those things need energy to function, okay? Energy today. You get your energy from eating healthful foods. Most factories, homes, and cars get their energy from fossil fuels. Coal, petroleum, and natural gas are fossil fuels. They have been the traditional or usual energy sources for more than a century. All right, now there was traditional, which means common or expected, and then we had sources, which means where these things are going to actually come from, okay? All right, today most of the energy we use in the United States comes from burning fossil fuels, okay? And we talked about that a little bit in our science lessons, just a little, okay? But these fuels come from deep under the Earth's surface and they are running out. They cannot be reused. Once a fossil fuel is gone, it's gone forever. So we need alternative energy sources to replace them. Scientists know that there is no other way to keep our country going and growing. So they are looking for new alternative sources of energy that won't run out. So the way I want you to think about all of these fossil fuels that they had mentioned, like coal and petroleum and natural gases and fossil fuels, just think about them like when you take garbage outside and you have to burn it. Once it's burned up, I can't gather those ashes and, construct a box that maybe I burn up. Or I can't go gather those ashes and make something that I originally had. Okay, so kind of picture it that way. We're using all of this from our earth and then it's gone. There's no way to recycle it and reuse it. Okay. Says this energetic snowboarder gets his power from the healthful food that he eats. Okay, cheaper and cleaner. Solar power is one source of renewable energy. And remember what renewable means? It can be remade, okay? And it's not expensive. As a result, many people are placing solar panels on the roofs of homes and large buildings. Solar panels look like giant mirrors and they capture energy from the sun. Have you ever seen these? I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen these before. They just look like really big mirrors that they put on the tops of homes or buildings, and they just use that energy that they gain from the sun to power other things, okay? On a bright day, the sun's rays hit the solar panel and cause it to produce electricity. And remember, produce means to make or create something, okay? Then the electricity flows into the building. As a result, there is enough energy to raise the temperature inside homes and turn on lights, stoves, and computers. The future. More companies are turning to solar power to replace fossil fuels. It's natural, and that means it can be found in nature. That means it isn't made or changed by people. Solar power is cheaper than fossil fuels, and it does not create pollution. Today, there are millions of people around the world using solar power to produce electricity for their homes and businesses. Someday, solar power may completely replace fossil fuels. Okay? So they're planning on maybe one day using this new form of renewable energy to replace all these fossil fuels that we're burning off that cannot be reused. Okay. All right, it says solar power right here. We've got our solar panels, okay? Solar panels are placed on the roofs of buildings, okay? And that's, see how they just kind of look like really large mirrors, okay? And see, the good thing about that is they're not burning anything. There's no pollution happening with these, okay? And it's a reusable source where we talked about if I burn up those chemicals or burn up that those fossil fuels, I can't regather those up and reuse it. We put these panels on our roof, though, and it's going to continuously be using the sun's solar rays to power the things that we need. So that's one really cool thing about this. Okay, go sunshine. Renewable energy is where it's at, and solar power is at the top of our list. Here are the top reasons why solar energy is so hot, and they mean popular. Okay, and yes, it is hot, but they are talking about why it's such a good thing. Solar power is cheaper than fossil fuels. Okay, so that would be a good reason to use solar power. It's renewable, so it can be reused over and over again, and it's not going to burn away. It doesn't cause pollution, and it is good for our environment. Okay, those are wonderful reasons to consider solar energy. Power from the sun is always available. Okay, so we're not going to run out of solar energy. In other words, they were talking about we can run out of the fossil fuels. We're not going to run out of sun rays. Okay, solar power is natural. Solar energy can do just about everything that fossil fuels do. Everyone should use solar power. It's good news for the planet. Thanks to solar power, Paul can power up and listen to his MP3 player, this little boy right here. Okay, so we can tell by the person who wrote this story, if I was to look at the author's point of view, I can definitely tell that they are totally for solar panel energy, okay? And with good reason. There's really good points that we can find in this, okay? There's good things that come from solar energy, and there's bad things that come from using those fossil fuels that we use, okay? So this was a wonderful example of why it would be something to consider. Now, for your assignment today, you've got to use those vocab words and kind of manipulate those. What you're going to do for your assignment is you are going to fill in this, you're going to fill in this vocab sheet, okay? Let me see if I can get it to where you can see the whole sheet. You're going to fill in this sheet. Now, this is the one you guys, this one probably isn't your favorite, like the one we did last week that's a paragraph. And I'm sorry, this week we just don't have a paragraph to fill in. With this one, what you have to do is they've actually given you the vocab word that they want you to use on numbers 1 through 8, okay? And what you're going to do is you are going to finish the sentence. So it gives you a beginning, and then you're going to put the ending, but you have to use the word, okay? So we are going over to our friend's house, and I need you to finish that train of thought using the word traditional, okay? So maybe you're going over to your friend's house to do a certain tradition, and you want to tell me about it that way, okay? So you're going to do that for numbers 1 through 8, and you'll submit those to me on Google Classroom, okay? I'll take a picture of this and send it to you, but if you want to pause it and fill it in, you can right now. Okay, boys and girls, so that was your lesson on vocab this week. I hope you learned some new words. I hope you're thinking about how solar energy can be really beneficial for our planet and for animals and people, and how we were given an option of how we could use that in place of fossil fuels. Don't forget to do your vocab assignment and then send it in to me on Google Classrooms, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Goodbye. Love you guys.